like make sure you invest your own energy into yourself. Like don't put yourself in what you know is toxic, trying to force a dead relationship when it's only going to cause more harm to you physically and emotionally, really.
What's up, everybody?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of
Coffee Breakup,
starring Barbara Jules and
Christian Vieira.
So, before we begin, as always, like this video down below, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and ring that notification bell. Comment down below with any ideas, topics, feedback.
Anything helps.
Anything you like. Social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok.
Yeah. And we'll get a website, thecoffeebreakup.com. Check it out.
When in doubt, coffeebreakup.com, and you'll find us on
Everything.
You can also buy some stuff, buy a mug, buy a shirt. Eventually, we'll come out with more stuff. I've been saying that for over a year.
Eventually.
But yeah. So, also, if you're on the go, listen to us on Spotify and iTunes. Why am I forgetting this? We really want you to be on YouTube and subscribe.
Yeah.
So that's a big point. So if you can be there, that'd be great.
That's important for us.
So, we are wearing our Check Your Emo shirts. Probably one of our favorite shirts.
Yeah. Exclusive.
My frame. Check that out. Marvin's. Make sure the mic's not covering you. You see you? There it is.
Nice and clean.
So yeah, we wanted to kind of talk about a couple of things, and there's a meaning behind this shirt. So, but primarily, pretty much, a lot of people have asked us, well, why did you start the podcast, all that stuff? And I think it's important to really kind of go back to our roots of how this all started prior to even talking about it. You know, more so of what we've been through, our exes and our relationships and our experiences. And I don't really think that we've really gone into detail from, like, I guess our most relevant relationships to talk about what we've been through.
Yeah, the ones that impact you the most. And I think most of us have been in those relationships where they kind of change who you are and really pivot, you know, the how you take on relationships moving forward. So, you know, I've been blessed to have been with some tremendous women in past relationships, and no matter what happened, even though it didn't always end best, but I am grateful for the experiences, and I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for those experiences, right? You really, whatever you go through, you grow as well, and it makes you who you are.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, I've been obviously in two relationships, really serious relationships. And I've learned, you know, both of them I've learned. In hindsight, you would always go back and be like, man, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. But you have to go through it in order to kind of learn and take away anything and everything you can get from that. And, you know, I always think, man, imagine if we would have started this podcast years ago or before. But I'm like, I wouldn't have been able to give the advice that I am, or I'm able to give now. And I feel like I think you would agree that 3-4 years ago, you know, we were doing nonsense and shenanigans, and we weren't really the man that we are today. So it all comes with a price.
Yeah, I think that, you know, we always ask for people to come on, share their experiences and their thoughts behind it. But then what about us? You know, I don't know if we've ever really, like, yeah, bits and pieces, but, you know, whenever we have a guest on, they'll talk specifically about their situation. So I think it's important for us to also share our side from, again, now us having this platform, people, they're always giving us, you know, asking us for advice or giving us their situations or telling us how they handled it, which allows us to continue learning as well, aside from our personal experiences directly that we've had with relationships, which I think continues to allow us to help more people,
of course,
with that feedback. But starting with us, I think it's important for us to share as well what we've gone through, and then maybe it'll help some of you guys too.
Absolutely.
So I think we're both going to talk about, I think, our most
profound.
You're going to be two relations. I think mine are also going to be two. And then maybe we'll dabble into maybe if there was the one that got away, or maybe there's one that you've always thought of something but never happened, or maybe now how your current relationship is now for you to, you know, from what you've learned from the past. So
yeah. So I mean, obviously my first relationship, true relationship, wasn't until I was a little bit older. I was like 21. And that's actually when I lost my virginity super late. I was like 21.
You came.
I came when I was 16. I was born and raised in Germany.
Because you're also, yeah, I guess that's kind of, because I lost my virginity at 16.
Yeah. And I just came from like off the plane and while you were, you know.
And how was it over in Germany? Like it was were relationships?
It wasn't like it is here. Like it wasn't, and here a lot of times things in Miami, everything's kind of sexualized. I think.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
It's not like that, or it wasn't like that when I grew up in Germany. It was even in my class, nobody really was dating like that or in relationships or hooking up. It was nothing like that. Then I came to Miami, and we went to the same high school together. And I was like, bro, like I went to a high school in Germany with like, I don't know, 300 people, and here in Miami Springs, where we went to high school, 3,000 people. So it's so many different experiences, so many different melting pots, and it was a different culture. So it took me a little bit to adapt. So I didn't really have my first relationship until I was 21, 22. And, it was a very impactful relationship. It's the first love. And I was like, I think a year and a half, 2 years, I think. And great woman, tremendous woman. And that was a person I like lost my virginity to. And at the end, I broke off things because I remember it was around like March for my birthday, ultra. I was like 21 years old, when you wanted to party. And I was like, listen, like I think we should end things, because at the time I wanted to pursue other options. I was only woman I've been with. And, back then I was like, I want to party, I want to go out with another woman. So I ended things. And it was really unfortunate because she took it really, really, really bad. But I'm proud that I was honest about it. And so, whatever, it was a great relationship, but it ended. And it was one of the things where you learn and then you move on. And that's kind of what happened. And then after a while, I dated around and this. And I just kind of lived my 20s, my young 20s, And so that's kind of that was my first relationship.
Yeah, but were there any direct hardships? Because if I'm not mistaken, I think in that relationship, you also, like, you learned a lot about yourself. I know that there was a little wrongdoings also in that relationship.
Bro, yeah, you're talking about the first relationship, right?
Yeah. Then I'll go to mine and then.
Okay, yeah, the first relationship, absolutely. I mean, it was a while ago, but things were rocky. Like at first, I started a new job, and then I kind of found out she was like back with her ex, and I don't know if that was cheating because.
But why you guys were still talking, or you guys had taken time off?
It was like that gray area where it wasn't officially that we took time off, but it was heading that direction where it was like we weren't really talking as much, and it was just this really weird area of like this gray area where nobody really knows what is going on. So cheating, maybe not really, but it was definitely not okay. Could have ended differently. And then we separated, whatever, and she was with the guy for a little bit. And then later on, we found, I reached out to her again somehow, and then we got back, and we were together for like a year and a half. And it was good. And then things ended, and I feel like they did have to end. But when you're that young, yeah, you make mistakes, you mess up, and you lie, and unfortunately sometimes that happens. But ultimately, but overall, it was a good relationship.
Really?
And I learned a lot. And she met my mom, like to this day, that's her favorite. Like she loves her. My mom adores her. So it's hard, especially when my mom has met another woman or two other women at this point, and my mom is like, it's not like I don't really like her as much as I like the other one. So it's hard when your parent really loves somebody that you dated. They're always gonna hold on to that person, especially if it's like maybe the first person. And my ex, she was like a sweetheart, like nice girl, innocent, and but I learned a lot.
No, man, my first relationship was extremely toxic, son. It was when I was, well, I mean, I've had other relationships, but like my first like main one that I can really like discuss, and it's the one that started shaping me, was when I was in college. Yeah, I had met this girl. It's unfortunate. I was in a fraternity, and she was dating one of the brothers. And she's one of these girls that you look at and you're like, holy shit, who is that? And then I was always like, no, dude, I would never like, and I was a new guy, like rushing the fraternity. But then apparently something happened there, and then one of her friends became like my little sister. Mm-hmm. And no, she was my big sister. I think now, yeah, I was gonna pick her to be my big sister. And she was awesome, great. Like we spent a bunch of time together, but she was trying to put me down with her, and I'm like, dude, like there's no way I'm gonna do that, whatever. And she's like, oh, but she thinks that you're attractive. And I was like, there's no way that this girl thinks I'm attractive. Yeah. So I put this girl on such a pedestal that I was willing to like oversee certain things. And so, dude, I just went for it because I thought this girl was like the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in my life. So it was a little bit wrong because then like the whole relationship with me and then the older brother was super rocky. It got super toxic there as well. It always felt like like it just never felt safe. Like something was always off, or like something like I would talk to him, but then he'd look at me like I just felt like there was a an ulterior motive with everything that was going on. It was really uncomfortable. Eventually, water was under the bridge, but that relationship, it always felt like I started hearing rumors about stuff, and then that she did wrong, I did wrong, and then ultimately, we cut ties. It got to the point that she was like so traumatized with all the back and forth that was going on that she couldn't even see me. Like I would walk up somewhere and she would get anxiety. Like she would like start panting and stuff. It got to that point. And me, I was like not forcing the relationship, but I was fighting for it. I'm like, no, we can't give up. Like we can't. I was a fighter. Like I would not give up. And it got to the point that it's like this is just doing more harm than good. Yeah. Eventually, then that's when we cut ties and we cut all communication. And then we had crossed paths again once in the future, and it was okay until then. We'd matured, we kind of grew out of that, and then we were able to kind of rekindle again in a sense of being neutral with one another, being civil. But man, at first it was just like it really tests you, because I was put in situations that I probably would never accept today. Mm-hmm. Yet because I wanted to be with her so bad, because I had thought that she was like the epitome of what I should be with. And I was like taking all of this like toxicity, and me to her as well. Of course. And it got to the point that, we had to cut ties. And I learned like, dude, you got to pick and choose your battles, but you have to also be secure with yourself. And make sure you invest your own energy into yourself. Like don't put yourself in what is toxic, trying to force a dead relationship when it's only going to cause more harm to you physically and emotionally, really.
Yeah. How long were you guys together?
We were together maybe for like a year. So it's really not that long, but
a lot happened, and it feels like an eternity.
Thing is, I mean, imagine, because when you get into a relationship, you have your ups, you have your downs, but usually that happens in like cycles over time. When you have like, I guess, this cyclical good and bad times of like 5 years worth of shit in a year, it's like you feel like you're so connected with this person, so especially when at first, like it was like this compatibility for us that we saw each other and like we wanted to be like, we were like obsessed with each other is what it was. And so like there was so much lust. We wanted to be together all the time. We thought that we were both like the hottest things in the world. Like we were like, man, look at what I got. And so I guess like I can't speak for her, but for me, it's almost like we were like this like status almost, where it's like, well, we were together and like we want to be together and we're happy. Like we're that couple. Like look at these guys. They're like super good looking, whatever. So we would literally force everything after that to make the relationship work. Cause it's like, if this is how we felt when we first started, it's still got to be there. We just have to find it again. And it gets to the point that it's like, no, dude, we just rushed too quickly in the beginning. And we realized that it was just like, we just weren't compatible over time.
Jesus. And do you keep tabs on her? Like, do you know what's going on in her life, or in a way?
It's funny. She's currently dating somebody now. Someone he was also in the fraternity as well. I've known him for years, since middle school is when I met him. And he's a great guy, and he and I were cool. Like he's a, super chilling. And, but no, yeah, it was almost like, that's when for me, everything started connecting. Cause I remember when I was in college, people would be like, oh yeah, she's dating this other guy, or she's always cheating on you. And I'm like, how is that possible? Like I'm always with her. Like I don't see how it's even possible. And then now fast forwarding, cause there was a time where we tried to rekindle. Yeah. And, this was a while back. We had tried to rekindle, and then she was talking to some other guy, but she was saying how they were breaking up, and then she was bringing me into the picture. No. So then when everybody back then was telling me like, yeah, she's always cheating on you, I'm like, impossible. Like, yeah, we're going through some hard times, but no. So it's like, maybe there was something. I'm like, like when I was with her, it's this guy who's always arguing like, oh, why are you being like this? Like, I'm trying to work things out. And she was just like, she would neglect me. And she was neglecting this guy to be with me. So now when I was dating her and she would neglect me, it started to make me think, well, maybe now the whole time she was actually seeing these other people. So then that was a realization that I had, recently from the last time, because I was always blind to it. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to accept it because I was so on this high with her. But everything for me, like, felt like all the puzzle pieces started coming together where I'm like, oh, maybe. In fact, I was actually, before she started dating this guy, this was kind of like when we had sort of rekindled to make an attempt to see if maybe after all that time, we realized that we were better off just being friends. But, she would tell me like, oh yeah, like, don't worry about this guy. Like he wishes he can be with me. And then a couple of months later, he's with They were together.
Jesus.
So I'm like, yawn. If you have
No, go.
So I was like, you know, you're here telling me not to, like the guy that your girl tells you not to worry about. Yeah, I mean, I remember I was with her, like in her bed, in her room, and she got a call from that guy. And she's like, oh, no, yeah, like, she's like, oh, are you drunk? Is that why you're calling me? All this stuff. And I'm like, I remember I was hanging out with him one time, and she's like, oh, are you in this guy's apartment? I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, God. I'm like, why? Did you guys have something? And she's like, no, he wishes. Jeez. And then you have him calling you at like 3 a.m. because he's drunk.
Doesn't add up.
And then the last time was like, I was with her, and like, I don't want to give a timeline, but a little while after, we had gone out and they were together, and I noticed that he kissed her. And I was like, dude, I was just with you like the other day.
Jesus.
Paint the picture however you want.
Yeah.
And that happened. She's like, oh, I told him like, oh, it was super wrong, whatever. And I was like, okay. Because she's like, oh, be with me. Like, I want you to be with me, whatever. But I saw that. And then a couple months later, they're together. I was like, oh, who is this guy dating? She's like, oh, me. I'm like, oh, so the guy you told me not to worry about, the guy you were telling me that was nothing, the guy that he wishes could be with you is now your boyfriend. So after all of that happened, I'm like, maybe when I was dating her in college, they were right the whole time.
Yeah, dude.
I'm a fool.
Adds up, dude.
I think so.
That kind of reminds me of kind of situation that kind of happened with me as well. And I guess like this is the most serious relationship I've ever been in.
The second?
The second one. And it was the most profound one. I was the most mature I was to that point, obviously. And so I think, we were together for like 2 years. But in that 2 years, so much happened. We traveled. Like she met my family in Germany, and then I met her family in Cuba. Like we flew, we went to Cuba to meet her family. Like it was like that, staying with her family stuff. So it was like a very profound relationship where so much has happened. And she, for the first time in my life, I thought about marriage and saving money for a ring. Where I'm like, I've never thought about that before, and having kids and stuff like that. So that's the type of relationship it was, and
so it's almost like she was kind of challenging your maturity and development.
She was 2 years older. So she was 2 years older than me.
And if we want to think stereotypically, or maybe even like biologically, I'm not sure, but if men take a little bit longer to mature at the same age, maybe, for her, she needed someone who was at that level.
Exactly.
So not only is she older than you, but maybe also emotionally more mature.
She was more mature. Yeah, she was more mature. She was in a career field. She was about to finish her master's. She was in her career field. So she was already get established, about to be. And I remember when I met her, she still had pictures of her ex on social media. So now I'm like, okay, like what's going on? Like this was like pictures of Christmas and New Year's Eve and whatever. And then it's January or late January, early February. And you're like sliding my DMs, like what's going on?
She slid in your DMs?
She messaged me on Twitter. So she's like, oh, I have a question. I'm like, what's up? She's like, oh, is this you? And she was talking about, back then I was blogging a lot on Thought Catalog. She's like, oh, did you write this? And I'm like, yeah, it's me. I write, like recreational, whatever. And she's like, oh my God, this is so good. I read all this stuff, And while she still had pictures of her ex. So like, what was going on? So I'm thinking maybe she was still talking to him, but kind of same situation, like things were already ending, and she was kind of like looking for the next thing, speculating here. But if you have pictures of your ex talking to other guys or girls, whatever, kind of messed up.
So you think that if you move on, the pictures need to come down?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes. Yeah. Especially if you...
sometimes people keep it up.
But if the picture is 2 months old or less than that, and then you're already talking to somebody else, I'm like, it's kind of disrespectful, man.
Still fresh, yeah.
Super fresh. It was like a picture of Christmas Eve or something, and then in January you're talking to another, you're like texting
Christmas Eve. That's not even it's like a week.
Christmas. It was December. Like the picture was from December, and she like messaged me like in January.
Oh, so it's a couple weeks only.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it was kind of messed up. It was messed up. So I was like, and then red flag. Now in hindsight, I'm like, well, note to self: don't talk to anybody who has pictures of their ex on social media. And it wasn't like it was family pictures or whatever. It was like solo actual pictures. Whatever. So we things moved quickly, and we like it was a roller coaster. It was one of those relationships where it's like a roller coaster, ups and downs, and it's really really good when we're on vacation, and then you come back and it's like that high, like you crash, and it's like it's so unstable. Like you never know how the day would start and then
Yeah.
how it would end. That's how the kind of relationship it was. But when you're that young, it's like it's like addicting, you know, in a way, almost like where you're like, now I crave stability over anything and peace and solace. Back then, that's not really what I was looking for. And it's hard to put into words how much this person meant to me. Like she's such a tremendous woman, and no matter what happened, like I don't know, man, it's hard. Like she really impacted my life in a profound way. It's hard to capitalize that in words. But it was a very unhealthy relationships, and I did my wrongdoings, and I did cheat. We've talked about this in the past. And I messed up, man, and it wasn't because of anything she was lacking or she did. It was me who I was at the time. And again, we've talked about this in the past, and she gave me another chance, and we worked through it, and it took a while, and unfortunately, after 2 years, the relationship kind of ran its course, and I remember things ended, and I fucked up. It was on me, and we broke up, and at that point, I was what, like I can't be this person anymore. I don't want to be this person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So this was like 2017, like January 2017. I remember vividly, and I was like, what? It's time for me to better myself and be. I'm just not happy with who I am. Keep doing the same thing, living the same lifestyle I was living, going out, partying, getting with girls, and all that stuff, lying, being deceptive. That's not who I want to be anymore. So it pushed me out of that comfort zone, out of that unhealthy lifestyle, and I just tried to become better and better. Not to get back with her, but just for myself. And that was a big difference, And I accepted that this may be the last time I see this person, but I had to take responsibility, and that's what I was doing. So I worked on myself and started writing more, and started going to therapy and stuff like that, and really, really try to become the best person. I went to started going to church and try to let God into my life and really like pivot who I am and who I was at the time. I remember this person, like she would see the improvements and stuff like that. It wasn't like she would say, "Hey, and we're done," and that's it. I would never hear from her. Every week it was like clockwork, and that's when our relationship kind of strengthened. And I came to you for advice, and we would always talk and stuff like that. And bro, I remember like every week she would reach out and message and this. What are you doing? Like you're doing this, you're doing that. And I'm
just keeping tabs,
but it's like keeping me close enough to give me false sense of hope. Like, okay, we can work through this maybe down the line.
Yeah, she's still
hitting me up every week, so she must be caring and stuff like that, but not enough to actually give me a chance. And so at that point, I think she was just winding herself. It's like, like a drug addict thing. And I was a fix. She just needed to come every week and whatever, get that fixed. But she was winding herself off of me until the point where
she found somebody else.
Exactly to get that fix from that person. And I remember I got baptized in late summer, like that year, like in July, I think. And at the time we were talking, and we I went to her place, and we tried to work through it. And I remember she came to my the day when I got baptized, and whatever. That was the last time I saw her. And we were talking about getting back together. And I remember she said very clearly, she was like, I still need a little bit of time and this and this. That was the last time I heard from her. And a week later, and I told you the story, like she posted another guy. Like
a week
later, like cooking in her apartment. And then one of our friends, he's like, "Hey, are you still trying to get back with her?" And I'm like, "No, like I don't know. Like I haven't heard from her, whatever." He's like, like, maybe don't, because there's she's with somebody else. And then he sent me the screenshot of like the guy in her kitchen like cooking, and that was really hurtful. And not because she didn't deserve to move on and she didn't deserve to find happiness, but
not at the expense of your
my sanity
and your
emotions and holding me hostage, because 6 months she was leading me on, didn't let me move on. That's why I feel so strongly about the situation, because it was like, if you don't want to be with me, great, but like let me move on in peace, rather than holding me on and leading me on and giving me that false sense of okay, like maybe there's something, that was the worst 6 months of my life, without a doubt. It was hard.
And disclaimer, you did address that you did do some wrongdoings in that relationship.
100%.
However, at the same time, because sometimes people may see this or listen to you say it and be like, well, you deserved it then. But it's like, once it all came to light and you discussed it and she made the decision to give you another chance, or at least to try to work on things with you, instead of like, she gave you that open door to say, hey, you know what? I want to work things out with you. I want to try to put in some effort. You were literally putting in that effort that she requested for her to not reciprocate, or to, like you had said it in the other time we recorded, like it's also hard for them, but they have to put in the work as well if they say that they want to move on,
right? And
with you.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't like she was like, no, like I don't want to get back with you, and I was like trying and chasing and this and showing up at her house. Never, I would never do that. It was the other way around. She would always reach out to me. She would always message me. She would always call me. So it was just very, very frustrating for me at the time. And we were talking almost weekly at the time we were speaking. And it was just very hard for me. And you know, started writing and this. And when I found out that she was with another guy, it was very hard. You know, and like people say, oh, like you deserved it, or it was your fault. It was my fault that the relationship ended, but it wasn't my fault that for the past those following 6 months, you know, she was in and out of my life as she saw fit. You know, that's not right. If you're not gonna be with somebody, that's 100% okay, but don't lead them on. Yeah, because it's not right what you're doing to that person. You know, holding them, you know, right there. It's not right. And then, bro, like, and whatever. She was in another relationship, or she started another relationship. I don't know who the guy is. I don't know anything about him. But I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. And that's kind of like really, because those 6 months I wasn't able to move on. You know, because I thought, you know, like this is the person that maybe we gotta get back together. So that really, my heart, like getting over that heartbreak, didn't start until July, August of after we broke up. And then, bro, like a month later, 2 months later, I found out she was pregnant and she was married and this. And I was like, wow, dude, shocker, but not much. Like all things considered, that I knew she wanted to have kids. I knew she wanted to get married. That's like her, almost like her main objective in life is to be a mother, to be a wife. And so, but even then, bro, it was hard. I was going to therapy like every week. And it was frustrating. You know, I remember you called me and you were like, hey, listen to this. And other people called me, remember? Like, people were like, yo, like, is this really, like, is this real? And my mom was like, yo, like, I heard this. You know, your sister told me this. Is this true? So it really went all the way down in every aspect of my life. So, man, that was hard for me, bro. Like, it's crazy when you're with somebody for so many years or for such a long time and you go through so much, and then it's like you talk about having kids and getting married and this. And even when we were working through things, she was telling me like, oh, you know, like I want to start having kids and stuff like that. Like I want to start trying soon.
And you start like picturing it, maybe where you're like, maybe, envision it. We'll get there. I can love this idea.
Exactly. And then now it's like, well, that's all I wanted.
Like, yeah, but right. But like, it's almost like she never really wanted to do it with you. She just wanted it done.
She wanted it. And at that point, it didn't matter if it was her ex or if it was me or if it was the guy now. Like, and that's kind of where I have what I felt like the most frustrating about. Like, the reason why she thinks ended with her past relationship was because he didn't want to get a house. He didn't want to get married. He didn't want to do all these things. So she's like, okay, like, let me do it with this guy. Okay, you know, like, let me do it with the next guy. And then that's it. And so it's kind of unfortunate how it all unfolded. Now looking back, you know, I can see that I'm grateful. Like it's hard. Back then I didn't know it, but I wouldn't be who I am. I probably wouldn't be we wouldn't be here, at least certainly not me, if it wasn't for that experience. So I believe everything happens for a reason. And bro, I was going through hell. Like I was crying, I was this, I was that, I was tormenting myself. And, you know, once you come out of it, so much greatness came out of that experience that looking back, it's like, you know what, maybe it was supposed to happen, you know? Yeah. And it's like I don't want to justify my cheating or me fucking up. Like, oh, it was God's plan. I don't want to say that either. But, you know, things kind of happen how they maybe where it's supposed to happen, you know?
This is one of your exes, right?
This is one of
your exes.
This is one of my exes.
Is it one of your exes that may have also sent us a cease and desist letter to put down?
Possibly. There might be a correlation between.
There might be a correlation.
Yeah, I'm not saying there is, but there
could be.
It could be.
That was a fun time. Remember? Like, think about it. When was the last time that you actually spoke to her? What is when was the last time you spoke to your most recent ex?
Bro, I was
Because it can be this one or it could be one of them.
yeah.
But at least we will know what timeline was the most recent.
well from her in particular.
Your most recent ex.
Bro, there was a time I was in Bali, and I got a text message, and this was after I published an article, and on Thought Catalog, and obviously no names or anything was mentioned, but obviously at the time she thought it was about her, and so she sent me a text message. I never read it. I was actually I was on a dinner with Patrick. I don't know if I guess I could say it. He was in Bali at the time, and so we met. And
I remember this time.
Yeah. But now I was in Bali, and I got a text message from this number, and I just saw something, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna deal with it. I deleted it. That was the last time.
You didn't even read it?
I didn't even read it. I don't know what it said, but it didn't matter.
Did it start off a certain? Do you know the theme of the?
Yeah, she was like, oh, because on the article I mentioned, maybe I'll put like a screenshot of the article. She's like, oh, because in the article I said that, what was it? Like you know, that she tormented my life, and she, the way those 6 months were unacceptable. And she's like, oh, you're really gonna say this about me, this and this, and I saw that. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna deal with that.
It's just so crazy how like even after like it's like there were still tabs being kept on you of what you were doing, and like for you creating, knowing that you're a writer or that you're a creative person, to anything that you do create, it's almost like there's always someone keeping tabs on you to see what you're doing to make sure it's not about them.
And people have to understand, when I write, it's not like, oh, I want to make an example out of you, I want to put you down. It's to share. That's how I cope with things, right? So and it's to help other people, and I have helped other people, and those are my experiences. And if I'm deciding to share that with the people, and it's not like I'm lying or admitting the fact that it was a piece of shit. I would always be transparent. Yes, I messed up. Yes, that was the reason the relationship ended. But there's more to it. It's not just black and white. And so some people, they don't like the idea of them being pictured in a light that they don't want to be portrayed in, even though there's no guarantee that, or I'm not even saying that this is about you. But now if the shoe fits, well, then that's on you. But
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Because now what happened with the cease and desist, where we had with one of your exes, maybe the same, maybe another, maybe someone we haven't even mentioned.
Yeah.
But even then you were sent that because we were talking about something that may have involved her, but the fact that it was so important to her to still keep tabs.
Yeah.
Have an attorney, have her either hire an attorney or her man hire an attorney to send us a letter for us to take down a post.
Or not publish something that may or may not have something to do with her.
Yeah, it's the fact that she was never even mentioned, which is why to this day we love talking about it. The Streisand effect, where you tried so hard to not have something come to light, and to this day we're now putting even more attention onto it. You got an attorney to literally send us something to take something down.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like nothing to hold you.
Yeah, we when we eventually, obviously we called you the bluff, because we were like, you know what, we stand by this. We didn't offend anybody. We didn't say anything.
Where are they now? Like, think about it.
Now?
Like, imagine they hired an attorney for us to take it down. We were fortunate enough to get an attorney to respond. Shout out Ricky Corona Law Firm. You're the man.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we responded to them, and instead of them pretty much addressing what his response was, it was like, hey, by the way, we noticed that the post is still up. And then from the last time I spoke to him, he was about that. He's like, yeah, I know that. We're not taking anything down. If you, like, stop wasting my time. If you want to send me, like, if you want to serve me, then just email me the letter.
Yeah.
Like, don't, BS me back and forth. And look, we haven't gotten any we haven't gotten any notifications. Have you received any emails?
No.
Have you checked your email?
I've checked my email.
Did you check your other email?
I checked both emails.
Okay. Do you have any text messages as well?
No.
Any direct messages that we should worry about?
No.
Because it got to that extent where
I got multiple text messages on
multiple text messages,
multiple
DMs,
emails, DMs on multiple platforms, and it was like, bro, like these certain individuals really tried hard for us to like not talk about something that doesn't only pertain to them. Experiences that we share in this episode or on this show are supposed to teach other people, and so there's people all over the world who have those experiences. And so for them to kind of like tell us what to post and what not to post, I thought that was unacceptable, and I think we handled it very well.
No, I'm glad that you're still relevant enough to them to have to do that, which is why we want to make them as relevant as possible still
Sure.
with this shirt. I mean, the fact that we made this shirt, I thought it was pretty cool.
That's dope. Maybe one day we sell this shit for like 10 grand or something.
Yeah, but maybe not. frame it on the wall though, like a jersey.
Yeah, like a jersey. Man,
that.
and you know, obviously I've spoken to multiple lawyers at the beginning when this happened, friends of friends and stuff like that. And they were like, yo, this is absurd. Like, and they watched the episode or they watched that part and they're like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, they're just trying to scare you.
Yeah. And no reputable lawyer would even take a time to deal with this. But it wasn't reputable. It wasn't, I mean, it was a legit letter.
It had to have been like a homeboy or like,
yeah,
you know, you really don't have much, but I could probably spook them with this. That they'll take them down.
Like they're small enough where they probably can't afford a lawyer and which we wouldn't have been able to if it wasn't for Ricky. So shout out to him again.
You're the man.
But yeah, and you know, we it kind of delayed things. We had to like postpone it by a week and kind of be tiptoe a little bit, but ultimately we put our foot down. And I like that we did. And it was never meant to like, you know, like I feel bad about the situation in a way. And when I say bad, I don't mean I don't regret what we did because I'm proud of the work that we do. But this person at some point meant very, very much to me, more than I could express on the show.
To go to that extent.
To go to that extent where she was, you know, that person was like, oh, like what a piece of da-da-da, and he's just doing this, and being subtweeted and talking down on me, and the fact that I give advice to people about relationships who might be in similar situations, and that maybe I wouldn't be the person to be qualified to be talking about it when I guess I should be the most person to talk about this. It's not right, man. Like I don't think it's okay. I never meant this person any harm. I did inadvertently do harm, and I tried to do everything I could to correct this. And even doing this, I'm trying to correct what I couldn't correct. You know, I can't go back in the time and change it, but I can alter hopefully other people's lives and change them and prevent them from doing things that maybe they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, I want to kind of speed through because I don't want this episode to be too long. But my most recent, you know, you did too. I want to do mine.
Forgive me.
No, not at all. So there was some things that you had shared that I kind of felt like it, you know, resonated with me.
Okay.
This one, my most recent one, and my most recent actual relationship was it was kind of brought to us together by trauma and through a really, you know, hard time. You know, we did have a losing of, you know, Jose. He was very important to me. Rest in peace. Love you forever. You're the man. But, you know, it was so impactful for both of us that it kind of drew us together almost. And then it kind of allowed us to really start hanging out and talking without having to really think like, oh, he's like, you know, I would never do that because whatever. But he was, I'm sorry. You know, we started getting together, started hanging out, and then we noticed that we had a lot in common. So we started, you know, doing whatever and we started going out. It sucks because prior to that, there was like this girl that I was kind of talking to. I had just started talking to her and start trying to feel her out, and things were kind of going pretty quickly. But then this happened, and then I had gotten close to my ex at that time, like my then future girlfriend at that time. I had gotten closer to her, and then I let go of the person that I was talking to. But it was so abrupt that I felt like almost, and
guilty?
I feel not so much guilty. I kind of feel a little bit bad about it because what I did to that girl was kind of messed up because I was trying to talk to her and I think we were going into a decent direction. And then it happened that Jose had passed and I got closer to someone that I didn't expect to be so close to. I kind of cut that. And then that just started breeding like almost insanity and like toxic on that side where that would then affect my relationship that I had with this person. The other person, yeah. Now I try to cut her off and I felt bad because like since I have this like personality of wanting to help people, and which is the whole reason why this podcast is here. Like this was all to create content to help and share experiences. I felt like I wanted to help her all the time. Like, I know that she still cares about me, but she just has her own traumas and maybe I can still help her while keeping a line divided and still take care of my relationship. That line started to cross where then it really started affecting because, you know, she still had feelings for me. And again, I didn't know how to cut that because I just felt like, oh, she's just broken. Like she has problems. Like she needed therapy, not me. She needed therapy. And I learned that a little bit later. But that definitely did not help the relationship. But regardless, the relationship was amazing. You know, she's an amazing girl to this day. You know, we're cool now. This was a time that it was it turned toxic. But, you know, we did have a lot of experiences. She was a high energy girl, great to hang around. But, you know, eventually things started to get a little bit sketchy, especially with me, because this girl would always hit me up. And then it's like, well, that looks sketchy. Why is she still hitting you up? And then there was an instance where she then had to leave to another city, and she was working almost like as an intern. But it turns out that the boss of that internship was just trying to get with her the whole time. So it's not like he really wanted to give her an opportunity because she was qualified. It's because he just wanted to bang her. Yeah. And I kind of realized this. And then I feel like she also knew what was happening, but she would omit a lot of it. And since we weren't really together at the time, because we had kind of split up already, it started turning into, well, we're not together, so you can't tell me what to do. But every weekend she'd hit me up, or she'd come down to Miami and she'd want to hang out. And then the weekend, everything was fine. And then Monday or Tuesday would roll around. She's back up in where she was working. And she's like, oh, no, yeah, like, we're not on the same page. Like, nothing is going to happen here. And I'm like, what do you mean? Over the weekend, we were holding hands. You were telling me how we had gone to the gym together. Mm-hmm. And she's like, look at us holding hands in the gym. We were on the treadmill. Like, she was messing around, but it was, like, kind of cute. And she's like, oh, look at us. Like, we're at the gym together. And I'm like, oh, maybe we can work through this. Maybe we can give it another shot. Right. Yet that Monday or Tuesday would roll around. Like, no, like, we're not going to be together. But then that weekend would roll around. Hey, I'm coming down to Miami and wanted to spend time with you. And that happened so long until I found out from her boss's cousin, I believe, that she was like traveling with this guy and all this stuff. And a part of me, and mind you, this guy's gross, like ugly as hell. In fact, I actually think he passed away. Rest in peace. But, Jesus. You know, karma's a bitch. But at the end of the day, dude, like, he was just, it felt like he was manipulating her because she was new. She was like super naive. And I think a part of her knew that what she was doing was wrong, but not to the extent of having to have to share it with me since we weren't together. But it was still guilt because she's like, I know I shouldn't be doing this, and I'm not sharing this with him. All every weekend I'm hitting him up. So I think that she was kind of playing this game where eventually the guy's cousin wrote to me or called me because he got screwed over by him. So he's like, man, this whole time you've been playing this fool down there just to be a dick and screw all you guys over. I'm going to involve somebody else, which is wrong on his part, but I'm super grateful for it. Because when he called me, dude, he started telling me everything. I'm like, dude, this whole time she's there telling me nothing is going on, or she'll tell me some things. And I'm like, this guy's mad sketch. She's like, oh, you know, he's just like that, whatever. And I find out all these things that you guys are traveling, or he's taking you here, paying for this. And, you know, he had bread, you know, he was the boss of the company. But you wouldn't tell me these things. You were just kind of blowing it aside, like brushing it off, like if nothing. Yeah, you're going to say something?
Well, how did he even get your number? How did he even reach out to you?
Oh, I knew him.
Okay.
So, because remember, like, they would live down here. Yeah. And then, so the cousin, her boss, the one who hired her, lives up north. His cousin moved up north to start a business. Then his girlfriend was best friends with my ex, my girlfriend at the time. So they both moved up because she got the opportunity to work at his job. And she's like, well, I'm going to go up too. And I'm going to work, I guess, up there as well, while the whole family's up there, essentially. It's the boss, the cousin. My ex got hired by the boss. And then this girl's dating the cousin, her best friend. Mm-hmm. So they were all up there. So I guess he got screwed over and he called me, and I was about to go on a trip. I had finally like accepted that her and I were just not going to get back together anymore. And I get a call as this is when I was with Patrick also. I was going on a cruise with him, and I'm like, yeah, I just need to disconnect, like whatever. So we went on a weekend cruise, and he called me, and right before I was about to board, he was like, oh yeah, she's doing this. She went here and this and that. Dude, I got in the Uber with Patrick. I pulled out my phone and I'm like, hey, what's up? She's like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, you got a minute? Yeah. All right. What's up with your boss? I would say his name. What's up with your boss? What do you mean? What's up with your boss? What do you mean? You know what I mean. What's up with your boss? I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what I'm talking about? No, what do you mean? All right, who did you go here with? She's like, oh, fuck.
She said it like that?
Like that. Damn. I'll never forget it. She's like, oh, fuck. I'm like, well, fuck. Where'd you go here with? Who did you go here with? It's not even like that. Where'd you go here with? Can I explain? Now you want to explain? Now you want to explain. For months, I had this weird feeling in my gut. And you were always trying to hide it. You didn't want to address anything. I would tell you my concerns. You would blow it off. But now you want to explain that you're caught? Go fuck yourself. Oh, but that's not fair. Let me at least say my piece. Whatever, bro. I don't know. I said a million things. I was so pissed. That poor Uber driver, whoever you were that took me to that cruise ship, I apologize. You had to deal with that. But bro, by the time I got to the airport, to the terminal, the port, whatever, I was furious. And dude, I was just so pissed because I'm like, this whole time she was like, she would doubt me or she would like always put things on me when it's like, dude, the whole time you were kind of being a sketch yourself. Fast forward, I think like the day after, dude, she quit. She moved down to Miami. And then I think that's when we went to Ireland a couple weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
It was all during that time. I came back from Ireland, bro, and I had a text message so long that when I clicked and I opened the message to hers, I had to click on her message to open like a notes thing. It was the longest thing I've ever wrote in my life. And bro, after that, we had talked to squish the beef. Like we squashed everything. Like everything was fine. Like time had already passed by then. But it was like, dude, like it was just like this whole time I just felt like a fool. Like thinking that this whole long distance thing, like
almost living like it, not almost, but living a different life.
Essentially, yeah, double life.
Double life. That's what it is. And do you think maybe that's why she kept you like too like far enough to we're not exclusive? So maybe tell herself like I could go around traveling with this guy because me and Chris we're not official. So maybe there was that. She was aware. She's not an. She doesn't strike me as an idiot. So she's like, well, if we're not, I'll tell him we're not serious. So I have plausible what's the word I'm looking for? She just denied the fact that well, I didn't do anything wrong. Me and Chris we aren't together.
Yeah. If there was nothing wrong with it, then you wouldn't have acted the way that you did, responded the way you did, and you wouldn't have quit your job if you didn't think it was a big deal. You would have still nothing would have changed. And to her defense, and I know I'm gonna sound really stupid, but from her character, even though I know that she was doing what something was wrong, I can understand being so naive because she was I forgot how this was 4 years ago. She's younger than me. She was maybe like 21, 22. And she was very naive in the sense that she allowed, it was like a power move where he was the boss. He had money. He would blow it on her and would show it off and like would go to nice stuff as a group, like even for like client meetings or whatever. So she would see this. And I feel like that power trip got to his head where he thought that he could take advantage. And she almost felt like, man, I'm getting this opportunity. Like I have no experience and he's here taking a gamble on me. I have nothing. And he's giving me this opportunity. I should be grateful.
But I think that's what I'm saying. But I feel like she was aware. Maybe she didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
She's like, this is how it's supposed to be. I have to do this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't want to put so much blame on her, although it was wrong what she did and also for not telling me. At the end of the day, I respect her and I do care for her because from everything, she's a great girl. But I just think in that time, she was almost like so naive that she allowed all these things because she doesn't know like, oh, this guy's doing this. I guess I feel bad. I'm ungrateful if I don't do it or if I don't do this favor, if I go with him. He needed this. Oh, we can all go to here. It's a group thing. Like, it's not that bad, whatever. Like, she was kind of just dancing around the truth without crossing the line.
Yeah. She was tiptoeing. That's why.
But omitting the truth.
Yeah. She was using it to her advantage. Like, oh, I come to Miami to hang out with Chris, but then I say, oh, well, we're not together, so I can go back home and feel not too bad about living in double
I think
life.
that's what she felt bad about because if not, she would have just stayed up there. Like, if it's like, well, we're not together, whatever, they can be pissed. Yeah, you found out, whatever. I think it was still like, like the charade is over. Like, I can't believe, like, I allowed this to consume my life or my life to be consumed by this whole like lifestyle, thinking that I had to, when this is completely toxic. I shouldn't even be up here in the first place because he just wants to bang me. I know he just wants to bang me. And I'm here trying to get experience in work when, like, what am I sacrificing just to say I work at this place? And I think that's where, like, a wake-up call happened. And I think she learned from it, I want to say. But yeah, dude, it was one of those environments that I went crazy, like always thinking something was going on or whatever, and turned out to be right. And I mean, eventually, that was the demise of the relationship, and
that's it. But like, did you guys ever rekindle, or was there hopes for another outcome? Or no?
Not so much. I mean, I know that we hung out a little while after, but it was more so she had called me randomly one day just thinking about me. And nothing, again, because when you're with someone for so long and sometimes it's unfortunate that the relationship does end, especially if there's animosity. Like, for example, you and your ex that you just shared, like, it sucks that that's how it was ended.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, I think the people that I have dated, and sometimes I know that I could be a tough ass and I'm the problem. excuse me. But in that situation, like, you know, she reached out to me. Not that I had any bad blood. Like, I was cool. But she reached out like, hey, all this stuff. Like, I just don't want it to be bad blood. I'm like, dude, it was such a long time ago. Like, who cares? And like, we hung out once, and it was refreshing. You know, seeing how from that point to who we are, like, more so today, and that maturity and that, like, the learning from that. I think that was what was beautiful about, you know, that growth and seeing her, and so much rekindling, but so much being civil.
It is unfortunate when you give you so much time and energy and love and devotion to somebody for years and whatnot, and then things don't work out, and you end things in a way where you wish it didn't end. Where, like, bro, you go from seeing each other, talking every day, to never speaking again. It's hard, and it's unfortunate that we sometimes have to hurt, or not have to, but we hurt people, and change them, you know, and now it's all of a sudden it's like we used to sleep together, be intimate, love each other, whatever, and now we don't even see each other again, ever again. And it's unfortunate, you know, like if I wish I could change that. I wish I could be in a different, like, have a different, you know, you don't have to be friends with that person, obviously, but I think there's a different outcome than kind of what happened in my situation, for example. So I'm glad that you guys are at least somewhere, things are amicable, you know, so that's good.
So what about your relationship now?
My relationship now,